Well, hello, beautiful people. We are back at it once again with the book 3 Feet from Gold. And this is chapter 20. It is a long chapter, and I am still recovering from being sick. So we want to get right into it. But you guys enjoy. And we'll do like a whole Q&A session once everything is done because we only got a couple more chapters. So, all right, here we go.
People take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Napoleon Hill. Chapter 20. A New Beginning. When Greg got home, an invitation awaited him. The invitation card alone was something spectacular to behold, on parchment paper with gold trim. Even as Mia appreciated its beauty, Greg simply wanted to know what the event was. He inspected it impatiently. Your presence is requested at the 75th celebration of Mr. Jonathon Buckland's life, it read. Immediately, Greg's mind began spinning at the opportunity to socialize with more of his mentor's close friends. He knew that the party would turn into something special and said a quick prayer of gratitude. Mia's imagination was likewise stirred at the thought of meeting Mr. Buckland in person and seeing the other luminaries who might attend. "This is going to be great," she exclaimed. On the night of the celebration, there was a full moon to light the sky. Greg and Mia arrived at the party, dressed to the nines, Mia in a spectacular red dress with a new short hairstyle, Greg with his notebook to record nuggets of wisdom tucked away in his tuxedo. "Greetings and welcome aboard," said a friendly voice from beneath the captain's cap. In typical Buckland fashion, the business leader had gone overboard, no pun intended, on the festivities, chartering the most spectacular yacht in the city, one that was usually reserved for government officials and dignitaries. "Greg, good to see you," the host called from across the stern. "Happy birthday, Mr. B," the appreciative guest said. "Mia, you are as lovely as I expected," Buckland complimented as he kissed her hand. Although he had spoken with her on the phone and by email, keeping her apprised of his protege's progress, the two had never met in person. "Oh, stop," she responded with a touch of rose blooming on her cheeks. Greg and Mia then made their way through the cabin, scanning the tables for their name cards. As they took their seats, they could not have been more excited, noticing that they were within earshot of the guest of honor. Joining them for the festivities were society's finest and most prominent leaders. They felt like characters from the land of misfit toys. Greg realized that Buckland had known exactly what he was doing with the seating assignments. "It's an honor to be with you all," Mia proclaimed, raising a glass. Before Greg could begin his toast, he heard a very familiar voice. "Let me join in here," Ron Glosser announced. As the partygoers raised their wine goblets, he added, "To new friends, past acquaintances, and to those we're about to meet, may we all live in harmony and impact the lives of many." The guests clinked their glasses. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone special in our midst. This is Greg and his date, Mia. Greg is working on a new book about overcoming obstacles with the help of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I'm pleased to say that I've already had the opportunity to share some words of wisdom with him, and perhaps you could do the same." "Thanks, Mr. Glosser," Greg said, humbled. "What did Ron tell you?" a table mate asked. "He said that one should never make a major decision while at a low point." "I said in their valleys. Get it right," Glosser prodded. The other guests appreciated his familiar insistence on precision. As the humorous mood subsided, another asked, "What else did you learn?" "There have been so many lessons, I don't even know where to begin." "Tell them about PMA," Mia suggested. "Oh, yes, positive mental attitude," Glosser interjected. He motioned to his left and asked, "Greg, do you like baseball?" "Of course, I was raised a San Diego Padre fan." "Then I'm sorry we had to whip your boys last week," another member of the dinner party said. "This is Drayton McLean, owner of the Houston Astros," Glosser said. "He knows firsthand the power of having the right attitude as well as not giving up when times get tough." The baseball team owner remarked, "When we first bought the franchise, it was tough times, all right. In fact, I had to write additional checks out of my own pocket just to cover payroll. We're talking millions." "That must have been a rough year," Mia said. "It was a rough 7 years," McLean boomed. "Within months of taking over the team, my players went on the longest strike in baseball history. From there, it took 7 more years before we turned a profit." "Why didn't you give up and sell the team?" another guest asked. "Never quit anything in my life," was his quick response. "I never bought the team to be a huge moneymaker anyway. It was more for the love of the game, and it turned out to be one of the greatest blessings I ever had." He paused for a moment and finished his thought. "We utilized the fame of the players to make a positive impact on our community. They visited schools and hospitals and really chipped in to make the city a better place. You can't put a price tag on something like that." "Besides," McLean concluded, "the detours and problems are what make life interesting and unique." "Amazing," Greg whispered to Mia as he thumbed through his trusty pad. "I guess we shouldn't cry over our setbacks after all." Overhearing him, McLean said, "Heavens no, and understand this." Greg wrote the following words: "Sometimes the worst situations turn out to be the best opportunities."
Right.
"It's all about leadership," McLean continued. "Become the one who sees the diamond in the lump of coal. While the majority may only see the muck and the mud, a leader will see things from a completely different point of view. It's like that old story about the two boys in the barn." Greg gave the speaker his full attention. It was different now from that first time he had met John Buckland. He felt different, more at ease with himself, more open to receiving what was being offered to him. "You know, two boys go into a barn. When the first boy sees the giant 4-foot pile of droppings, he turns and hightails it out of there." As Drayton continued his story, Glosser laughed, knowing full well where it was headed. "The other boy sees things differently. He goes in head first, jumping right in the middle of the pile, throwing the stuff all around. When the farmer asks him what he's doing, he gives an optimistic answer. 'The way I see it, mister, with all this manure around, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere.'" The guest chuckled at the age-old humorous tale. "What makes a great leader in your view?" Mia asked sincerely. Without missing a beat, McLean responded, "I heard it said one time." Greg dutifully recorded this new thought and reflected on it for a moment. "A true leader will take others where they would not have gone by themselves." "Hear, hear!" exclaimed the others in unison as they raised their glasses once more in a toast to leadership. "That's great stuff, thank you," Greg said appreciatively. He now remembered reading that McLean had taken his family business from a $3 million a year enterprise into a $19 billion empire before selling it to Sam Walton in 1990. That was successful leadership. "What about you?" Mia asked two well-dressed women with big smiles on their faces. "We're grinning because Sharon Lechter told us to look for you tonight. She was right about your enthusiasm and energy. She told us you would want to hear our story, but our story is more about human nature than business." McLean then introduced the pair in a way that immediately grabbed everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Fedderson. They are the founders of a very successful nonprofit organization called Child Help, and they've been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 4 years in a row for their outstanding efforts in rescuing abused children across the globe. Their work has been appreciated for many decades and has reached an estimated 5 million youth. In addition to their many awards and commendations, their story has been made into a TV movie." Mia stood up, walked over, and hugged the two women, saying, "How wonderful. You are truly doing God's work." "We hope so. He certainly has us working around the clock," Fedderson said. "How did you get started?" Greg asked. Sarah O'Meara responded. "Many years ago, over 50 now, Yvonne and I were entertainers for the USO. While stationed in Japan, we came across these 11 orphan babies of mixed American and Asian parentage, whom no one would claim. We took them into our hotel room in hopes of finding them a home, but to no avail. Even the military officers said we had to put them back where we found them, on the street. But we wouldn't hear of that. Yvonne Feddersen said. We told the officers we had done what they asked, but we really just hid the children away at our hotel while we did our shows. Finally, we came across a woman in town who was willing to help, but she had no money and nothing to offer these children but love. We promised if she took them in, we would return with clothes, food, and money to help her care for them. The others at the table absorbed every word of the story. What happened then? Mia asked, intrigued. We went to the servicemen and asked them for help, Omira said. We told them about these children, what they were going through, and even suggested that they ought to help them because they were half American and might very well be their own kids. Feddersen continued the story as if they had told it many times before. And did they help? Now Child Help has aided over 5 million children. We have programs in 42 states and 14 countries. Our National Child Abuse Crisis Hotline helps thousands of children every month when they need it most. Everyone at the table applauded, more than just politely. Are you excited about potentially winning the Nobel Peace Prize? Greg asked. We are more excited about the awareness for child help than the award itself, Omira replied. It's not about us. It's about all the thousands of volunteers who work for these children. They deserve the award. Thank goodness you didn't give up when faced with challenges, Mia added. As a nonprofit, we are always faced with challenges, from not being able to serve all the children who need our help to raising money year after year to help the ones we can. As long as there are children suffering from abuse, our job will not be done. And then, with a gleam in her eye, Feddersen added, and if you would like to help us, we would welcome it, either as a volunteer or a donor. 24/7. That's how hard these ladies work for our kids. You truly are angels on earth, Ron Glosser exclaimed. People say that quitting is not an option. That's a bunch of nonsense. It is always an option. Leaders simply understand that to succeed, we must act as if we're going to succeed and never lose focus on the end result. These women epitomize that belief. And while it may be a play on words, successful people understand that they must always. Greg captured these words immediately on his notepad. Act as if, and never believe in never. Greg remembered vividly that he had been convinced that David's addiction could never, ever be overcome. He also recalled that David had used the same phrase as Glosser, something he had picked up in rehab, act as if. It seemed to be a common theme for those seeking success in whatever realm. In the worst moments, when David had relapsed and all looked lost, Greg had struggled with the concept that his brother might never recover. But if he didn't believe in never, perhaps never would never come. Over the next hour, the dinner companions shared stories of success, struggle, and victory. This was turning out to be an intellectual and inspirational feast, as well as a culinary one. Then Sarah Omira turned to Greg and said, I understand from Sharon that you have had quite a journey learning about perseverance yourself. You've heard our stories. We would like to hear yours. Glosser chimed in. That's right, Greg. Bucky wouldn't have included you in his inner circle if he didn't believe you were ready. If you're here, he believes that you've earned the right. Greg had spent the last year seeing the world through many different people's eyes. He had sat at the knee of the master, Mr. Buckland, and listened to priceless words of wisdom from him and his many friends. But just a week earlier in Don Green's office, Greg had been overcome with insecurity and a feeling of desperation. But maybe Glosser was right. Along the way, Greg had learned from others' wisdom and made different choices for himself because of it. At that moment, he finally realized that he had become an honored guest himself. Shivers went down his spine as he felt the significance of his own personal transformation. He slowly said, I guess it's one thing to seek great advice and record it, but an entirely different thing to take that advice and act on it. Each of you has truly made a difference, not only in your own lives, but in the lives of many others. You each chose the wisdom that spoke to your personal situation and made every effort to internalize it and then acted on it. Glosser smiled and said, Greg, you have clearly done that as well. I know you give the credit to Buckland and all his friends, us included, but Buckland didn't change your life. You did, haven't you? Greg said humbly. Yes, I guess I have. Actually, I came from the depths of despair. I had lost Mia and was facing financial disaster when I first met Mr. Buckland. I'm still putting my life back together, but now I'm focused on the future with hope and great excitement and anticipation. Squeezing Mia's hand, he continued. Today, all I want in life is to give my life my all. I have found my own courage in learning from each of you. The guests around the table smiled at Greg's words. Glosser himself pulled out a piece of paper and jotted, All I want in life is to give my life my all. Now, Greg, you have just given all of us a great piece of advice. I like it. Glosser put the notepaper back into his pocket. You truly have earned the right. Thank you, Greg. Greg was more than a bit shell-shocked by what had just happened. This honest sharing of what was really important had truly gotten him through many tough times during his life, especially during the last year. His thought was interrupted as someone tapped the microphone and announced, May I have your attention, please? The entire ship quieted as Jonathon Buckland stood to address his guests. Thank you all for coming out for this celebration. Usually, it takes a funeral to get this many people out to one function. Well, maybe you don't think I'm going to make it another year. Everyone laughed. One of the greatest lessons I've learned through all my years on the planet is the power of association. They say you are the reflection of the people you spend your time with. I am blessed, honored, and thankful to have each and every one of you in my life. Cheers. Then dessert came, and Greg and Mia rose and strolled out to the yacht's deck to enjoy some fresh air. On the bow, as they were showered by the ocean's mist, they encountered a friendly-looking gentleman. Hello there, the pair greeted him. Well, hello yourselves, the guest responded. My name is Rudy Rudiger. He raised his champagne flute in greeting. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mia said. Greg blurted out in his usual way. The only guy I know named Rudy was from that film years back where the walk-on football player was carried off the field in celebration at the end of the famous Notre Dame game. The seafaring guest added, And you know, to date, that was the last time that ever happened. Have you ever met that Rudy? Greg asked. Every time I look in the mirror, came the response with a grin. Really? Greg's eyes lit up. I love that movie. It really is a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. To be honest, it almost never came to be. Mia asked, well, what do you mean? Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I thought the story would be a great project, but no one else did. Finally, I found a screenwriter out in Hollywood who said he would meet with me to go over the ideas. Seemed very excited over the phone. I put some money together and flew out to meet with him. Did he help you write it? Mia asked eagerly. It went like this, he responded. I sat in a booth at a diner for over 30 minutes, and the guy never showed. An hour passed, and still no sign of him. 2 hours went by, and then 3. What did you do? Greg pressed, intrigued by Rudiger's tale. After that long, believe it or not, I still had hope. I still saw the potential of what the story offered, and I wasn't about to give up. That's just not my style. A friend was with me, so I asked him to stay in the booth while I went outside and got some fresh air, just in case he showed. I walked outside, and he was there, Mia prompted. No, Rudiger replied, but there was a friendly face, a postal carrier with the biggest grin I'd ever seen. I said to him, I really appreciate that smile after the day I'm having. What are you so cheerful about? The mailman started laughing and said, I just moved here from Michigan. Last week I was delivering mail in the snow, and now I'm standing here in shorts getting a suntan. All three enjoyed a good laugh at the image of the mail carrier sliding on his sunglasses, trying to imitate a celebrity. He said, I'm glad I could make your day, but hey, why are you here? What's your story? So I told him. I gave the play-by-play of how I wanted to make a movie of my experience. The mailman said, you know, you hear that a lot in this town, but your idea is pretty good. Then he asked, who are you supposed to meet? There was a pregnant pause as Rudy Rudiger took a sip of his champagne. His two-person audience stood captivated by his saga. When I told him, he got angry, but in a positive and constructive way. He said, I like you, and I'm going to help you. In fact, I know that guy who stood you up, I just delivered mail to him 30 minutes ago. I know where he lives, and I'm going to tell you. Well, as you can imagine, I was excited and marched right over to the address he gave me and knocked on the door. The guy who stood me up answered and said, "Who are you?" Rudiger paused dramatically. The waves crashing along the side of the yacht were the only sound as Greg and Mia held their breath in order not to miss a word. "What did you say?" Greg prodded. "I said, it's Rudy, and you're late for lunch." Greg and Mia turned to each other, acknowledging yet another message similar to those they had been learning along their own path. They recognized that Rudiger had not given up on his dream and had the courage to persevere. Rudy Rudiger said, "You know what? If you watch the credits at the end of the film, you'll see that he was the guy who actually wrote the script. Pretty neat, huh?" Greg pulled out his pad and wrote down an old lesson said in a new way. Don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. The blast of the foghorn broke into their momentary reverie. The journey had come to an end, and the yacht headed back to port. "Have to let you in on a little secret," Rudy added. "Bucky told me what you're up to. That's why I wanted to share that story with you. Remember, very little outweighs the power of perseverance." As they walked away, Greg said to Mia, "Did you hear him? He actually sought me out." Mia touched his arm. "That just means the tide has shifted, and it's your turn." The party guests filed off the boat. Greg and Mia were among the last to leave. "Happy birthday, Mr. Buckland," Mia said as she hugged him goodbye. "Thank you for all you've done for us." "My pleasure, Mia." He turned to Greg. "I know you've had some challenges with your venture, but stick with it. I heard you have Sharon Lechter involved. That will be a great association for you. Have you figured out by now that you are just 3 feet from your own discovery of gold?" "I actually think we have," Greg said. "By the way, there is something I've wanted to share with you for a while, Greg. You told me about your adoptive brother and his addiction problem. I could see how it was tearing you up inside, even as you and Mia were having difficulties, and as you were on your greatest journey of discovery." Greg didn't know what to say, so he listened intently and held Mia's hand. "What I didn't tell you then is that I lost a daughter to drug addiction. She didn't find recovery. Whether she didn't want it badly enough or try hard enough, she never found herself. Our mother and I lost our girl when she was 23. So young. To be honest, we haven't ever been the same. I've done some service on the board of an addiction rehab center. Coincidentally, it is the same one David went to." Mia was crying, and Greg tried with all his strength not to break down. He couldn't express in words how amazed and grateful he was for Buckland's words. "So, I know your pain, and I'm so happy for your joy. From what I understand, David, too, is 3 feet from gold, from the greatest success of his life, recovery from addiction. It isn't easy, but it's his turn, and you can be one of his greatest teachers and friends. Be with him, share with him, learn from him, Greg."
Wow. Oh, man. Hang on, you guys. All right, here we go. I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, I've been fighting this sore throat. But oh my gosh, was that so good? But anyways, you guys come back again tomorrow. Again, like I said, I'm gonna do a wrap up once I'm feeling better, and these chapters are pretty long. I think I might even have to break up tomorrow's chapter because I think that might be the last one, but we'll see. But anyways, come back again tomorrow. Until next time, you guys make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.